Okay, hello everybody. We're just going to give a couple of moments so you can all connect in. Okay, quite a crowd. Okay, I think I can start slowly, otherwise we'll run out of time. So hello, everybody. My name is Eva, and in the name of SGO, I would like to welcome you to this exclusive event hosted in collaboration with our friends from Kandao. Many thanks for joining us today. I can see many familiar names joining in the session. If you want, you can let us know from where you're connecting in the chat, so we know from which parts of the world you're getting in. Also, in the panel, we have so many different continents at the moment, so we're also from all over the world, which is always so great to see. Maybe just some practical information before we begin. I recommend you setting your Zoom window to full screen for a better viewing experience. If you have questions during the session, please place them in the Q&A panel that you can find in the lower tab of your Zoom window. We'll do our best to cover them all at the end of the session. Okay, so let's crack on. This month, we're celebrating the 4th anniversary of Mystica VR. And I would just like to say that we are extremely proud that it has become a go-to optical flow stitching solution and a reference in the industry. It is really amazing to see how many VR creators from all over the world embraced our technology. So a big thank you to all of you for your continued support, feedback, and all the inspiring and innovative content that you guys produce with our technology. So we're making our technology even better every day, also thanks to our amazing partners like Kandao, who also decided to join our celebration today. So we have the pleasure of hosting Kandao CEO, Dan Chen. Hey, Dan, how are you? Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Eva. Hi, everyone. It's my honor to be here with everyone.
Great to have you. So congratulations on the brand new camera. You promised us that you will say a few words at the beginning of the event.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I would like to thank Ignacio and Hugh for testing our camera as well. I think they being very patient and provide quite a lot of advice. I think at the moment the hardware is kind of more or less ready, but we still have something to work on the firmware to get the camera into a better shapes. And we also would like to thank Mystica, especially Romans, for working very hard with us to integrate the support in Mystica VR. And I think there is still also quite a lot of work we can do in the future to make the stitching even better in Mystica. Because Obsidian Pro is kind of a very large rig. So traditional method like optical flow will kind of encounter a lot of problems. And we are actually working on, Kandao is kind of, we spend a lot of times on depth. Depth stitching, depth-based stitching, and we actually really want to integrate these things into Mystica, and because Mystica has very good menu control. You can have a lot of editing via the user input, and it is at the moment I think it is still very hard to get the optical flow depth estimation 100% correct purely by algorithm. So we think that we would like to provide a kind of a basic skill, get things something like 80% or 90% correct, and then let the user handle the remaining 10% in Mystica via their tuning and get things done. So this is what we are thinking about, how to approach stitchings with these kinds of large ParaRes camera. Yeah, So I
That's
think
great.
Eva today give me something like 5 minutes. So
more or less. No rush, no rush.
I think I would like to share with all of you the work we are doing with the depth stitching, or is planned what kind of difficulty or the parallels we encounter. So let me share my screen. Okay. So can you see my screen? Now let me.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, let me switch. Okay, can you see the full screen? So this is actually, do you see the Photoshop screen?
Yes, we can.
So here I want to show you is actually the 8 lenses on warp. This is lens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see by doing calibration, we can actually get the very large distance. You can see, for example, here, there is not, they're not moving at all. So you can see we are actually doing the infinity very well. But in seeing near here, for example, let me zoom in a bit. So let me concentrate on maybe these 3 camera, layer 6, layer 4, layer 5. You can see actually, for example, let's see the people here. You can see actually the parallels is kind of quite large. They are already something like 3 or 4 meters away, but you can still see that the parallels is actually quite large. So let me kind of use the, so these three camera overlaps. You can see the region here is actually, we have 3 lenses covering this area. But the parallels causing by the large rig is actually quite large. So if we kind of rely on the traditional optical flow thing, Mystica will have quite a hard time to, for example, doing the optical calculation from this one to this one. So you can see the parallels is kind of huge. So I think for this, we think that for this kind of scenario, or for this kind of rig, the only way to do it correctly is actually through depth stitching. So this is the, for example, let me show this is the stitching using depth-based algorithm, and purely by the software, by the algorithm. This is left eye and right eye. And I can show you, for example, let's see the left eye and how it compared to the other lenses. For example, let's see lens 4. You can see here, the left eye is actually quite different from the lens 4. It is also actually quite different from lens 5 for the other region like this. But for this one, for this particular view, it is actually quite similar, but just a step closer, step back, because the rig is large. You can imagine that people are standing on the lens position. And when you render it correctly to human perspective, you kind of step back a little. So this is lens 5. Lens 6, it is actually also in the same way. For lens 6, you will see that for the people here, actually the parallels. So in order to get every position have a correct perspective, we think that we will calculate the depth first, and then share the depth, the intermediate results with Mystica, and then you can fine tune the results in Mystica. Let me show you, I do not know whether you can see the video clearly. So this is transition.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think at the moment it is quite hard to do it by hand in Mystica, but we hope that maybe in 1 month or 2 months time, by working together, we should be able to kind of let people reproduce these kind of results easily with Mystica and with our software and hardware. So I think this is basically what I'm trying to say today. And I'm ready to take some question later if we have more question. Okay.
Perfect, Dan. Thank you very much. I'm sure that working together we'll be able to achieve everything. So we promised that today we were going to speak about trending VR workflows featuring the brand new Obsidian Pro and our technology Mystica. And today we're lucky to have two very interesting speakers on board who already got their hands on the camera. From the West Coast, we have with us today Hugh Howe, your favorite YouTuber and VR creator. And from the other side of the world, we have one of the pioneers of 360 photography, Ignacio Ferrando. Hello, and hola, Ignacio and Hugh. Lovely to have you with us today. So Hugh, why don't we start with you? You promised to share some of your favorite tips and tricks with stitching the new Obsidian Pro, right?
Yeah, so I have two screens on. Can you guys hear me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So yes, I promise, but I don't know how much I can do. I will lead the heavy lifting to Ignacio because I literally got the camera like last night. I only have last night to play with the camera. Mm-hmm. So everything I said gonna be biased based on less than like 10 hours. My experience. I just want to like hammer back what Dan mentioned because maybe assume not all the user like quite understand what he just mentioned about the depth-based stitching. So if anybody ever have the chance to use the Google system, eHalo, that entire system called Daydream, it's not there anymore. Google killed it, but it's based on depth-based stitching. So it's really quite different from people understand from an auto panel world coming from or Mystica world coming into the depth-based stitching. It's a two different paradigms. So that's why like a lot of stuff that people criticize about the bigger sensor, crazy overlap parallax, how you saw this. Because people coming from a traditional PD GUI world, like everything is physical distance, but in the depth-based world is from a different calculation. So will be a huge difference. So personally, I will be interested to see like how this system come out because they will be the second system that since Daydream to actually apply depth-based stitching on 360 VR. So it will be very interesting. And most of the people I know, at least in the West Coast, when Daydream went under, that is our biggest complaint about VR is we basically lost that crazy system based on Daydream system. But that is the follow-up with what Dan just mentioned about depth-based. And if people want to do some research, they can easily find it on the internet. Anyway, so hopefully you can see my screen. So here is the big giant camera. I kind of make a man bun to make it look like hipster because it's the West Coast, right? So that's the lens cap, by the way. So the camera is running right now, and it connects to my computer right here, and then go to my screen. So let me share my screen right now. So I can't really show you the workflow, but I can show you the DIT workflow. One thing about this camera is pretty dope. Is it rely on 10 gig Ethernet connection right now to transfer footage. So run the camera like giant FTP. So if you guys understand like the storage, like the biggest challenge on VR is storage. And besides storage is the speed from the camera to your computer. And that usually limited by USB 3.0 or even USB-C or Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is great. You got 40 gigahertz per second, but anything is not Thunderbolt is super slow. So DIT on set gotta be a nightmare with this camera. But this camera shot crazy amount of data. You guys know that already. I come with the hard drive. So they solve this by using a 10 gig Ethernet cable directly into your network or your computer. This camera built with a live stream mindset in mind too, right? Because it connects to a 10 gig Ethernet port, and then you can connect access into the camera like a NAS drive, network drive. So with that, I can pull data with like 4 to 5 gigahertz per second to the computer. So it's very fast transfer speed. So no more handling 7 or 10 SD card transfer at the same time and hitting the port of the super slow USB-C. And that is one thing that nobody mentioned, that not even me in the review, but I just found that out last night, and that's a great workflow for converted media. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Is my screen sharing? Okay, hold on a second.
Not yet. Ah, no.
There you
Okay,
go.
there you go.
So that is like, by the way, Eva, stop me if I run out of time, because I can talk forever.
Okay, go
so
ahead.
that, yeah, so that is a stitching. Wait, hold on, let me see the right one. Okay, so this is a trial case. Okay, my screen is so small right now, so I can't find. Okay, let me show you guys. I'm not lying. Like, that is a trial case sequence on Premiere on my machine. Stitch result, right? So 30 frames per second, not 60 frames per second. And another thing I want to mention, that this camera, again, like over deliver from the original advertisement, it can actually shoot 12K 3D in 60 frames per second, not 30 frames per second. I was testing that last night, but just so you guys know, it's not only 30 frames, you can actually hit 60 frames. But this is what I shot with the really early beta unit on an actual film set. Actually, you want, I'll just go ahead and play for you guys this video if I have the time. Oh, obviously, you guys can't hear the audios, huh? So this job frame, but I'm playing at full, so there's, wait, hold on. Let me not play at full, that is not smart. It's a 12K video. So we don't have job frame anymore. There's no proxy, as you see. So on my server, it's a pretty fast server, but still it's a computer, right? It's a PC, 2 years old PC with 12K footage with no job frame. And you see optical artifact right here. That's the only mistake on this video, but this whole thing, they go around the entire camera, right? Actually, the house is really weird. It's that round house. You go around the camera, and then guy deliver his line. You look up, you see the outside window with direct sunlight, but you can still see everything here. If you look up, the dynamic range is crazy. This one that is playing in low res. But look at that. I could jump back into the earlier footage. You can see outside. You can see it clearly. Inside only powered by this light source and some indoor light source. So dynamic range of this camera is insane. That's a good example. Here in Mystica, I brought in the footage. So on this sample, I did not shoot the KRAW raw. Disclaimer, I only shot ProRes. This camera supports ProRes, HQ, ProRes, H.264, and then raw is 14-bit. So ProRes HQ is 10-bit, I believe. And that is a stitch. Why is it so big? I don't know what's going on. I turn on VR mode off. So if you want to see the behind the scene of what happened, and that is a stereo stitch. What it means, stereo is see left and right eye. Let me actually go ahead and remove the edge point so you see what is going on. Boom. So on the Mystica workflow, it's very simple. Basically, if you like used to Mystica, I mean, literally just you drop in the A lens footage in here. As you see, the size is 6K, is 5616 by 4024, and that is the sizes. When you're shooting ProRes HQ, you actually got different sizes. If you shot a KR raw, you have more overlap. ProRes less overlap, and then you bring it in, you hit stitch, you hit import stitch, and then each camera come with a template. Let me find it. My organization is not that great. But yeah, it come with a template. You drop that in. You go ahead and reset everything. So to reset it, oh wow, you immediately see optical flow. Don't freak out because the template usually default the crazy feather. So you want to drop this in average 20 to 30. Just be conservative and go 30, but you can do 20. And you see that optical artifact is gone already because of a giant feather. And also one thing about this camera is different from other camera is you might need to play with conversion to really push the subject in and out for the final conversion. And that's the only other thing you need to like, actually I will reset it so you see what I'm talking about. Oops, sorry. My alarm tell me to shut up, hold on. Yeah, so when you jump in, there's no conversion, right? And then if you see left and right eye, actually better to see it in black and white stereo. see the far distance, the house, it's not actually that far. It's around like 5 to 6 meters away from the actual camera. But that is but in a perfect world, a stereo world, you want this have no convergence. So there's a convergence right here. So you can go ahead and I think play around to really remove it. And then after that, you will actually causing a problem on the base on. Let me turn on VR mode. You create this little black hole, and if you change to extrude, that usually fix your problem. I mean, you don't care about a tripod, but mostly the sky. You don't want to have a black hole in the sky. Let me see. Actually, see a black hole in the sky. Actually, that's not an extrusion. Not that hard. Not that big. And then, yeah, I think I need to increase a little bit more. Stereo black and white. Yeah, because I shot with stereo, so mono is not gonna write. And then I am in the stitch line. So the last step is this is actually way too big. Sorry. And then make sure it's extrude. And then the last step is your favorite Mystica workflow. Just add a stereo edge point stereo, and number 8, and push it. So another thing is this camera have crazy amount of overlap. You already saw Dan's demo on the Photoshop, so you can really push this like crazy. I mean, tear it down right now, but that is like, you see the distance right here, right? It's like left and right. Oh, it's not tearing this side. Oh wow, look at that. This side you can literally push really out of the frame. But you see the overlap is pretty insane. So if your talent, like if you have a pretty bad blocking, blame the director, by the way. Blocking is very important in VR. But if you have a pretty bad blocking, the actor walks straight to the stage line, you can use this large overlap to fix the issue. And obviously, I'm a horrible director as well, so I walk straight to a stitch line as well right here. But as you can see, like now we got a perfect stitch again, pretty bad resolution here because screen capture. But you see that I'm in the edge point and I get pretty good stereo. And I'm pretty close to the camera, by the way. If you look down, it's literally like 2 meters or less on the camera. So that's the gist of it. And last thing I want to show you, like even this is ProRes. If I move the output camera gain up, you look at the shadow right here. Hopefully you see it. I moved this up so it's blowing out already. The sun's right there. But you see the shadow right here is still very like not too much noise. Let me see. Actually, I have a correct gamma curve. I don't think it's sRGB. Loxy. It's gamma. Give me a real gamma. Okay, that's the right range. Okay, that's a bad one. Well, actually, there's a bad demo. I don't know what the color space of or what I should. Oh, another thing, this camera actually capture in Rec 709, probably this one is, but can also capture in Rec 2020. So it's an HDR color space. So before you roll the camera, make sure that you are in the correct color profile. So that's why you can pick a different color space in Mystica. But as you see, the noise is like actually not there. You can't really see the noise, and that is a shadow. So if I reset this, you see that is entirely in the black shadow because the sun is right here. Let me see the sun. The sun's right here, right? So that part is completely in the shadow, but you see that the camera doesn't have too much noise, and that's the benefit of this camera compared to other camera that you don't see. So I think I covered the basic in less than 10 hours of research. So I gotta hand over the mic to back to Eva.
Perfect. That was pretty cool, Hugh. I think that having the camera for only 10 hours, you did quite a good research. Have you slept anything or just
drink coffee if nobody's sleeping?
Yeah. I can tell. Well, thank you very much, Hugh. We will cover the Q&A part at the end. So I suggest we move forward with Ignacio's presentation. So Ignacio, you also did some shooting tests. You had the camera now for 2 days, I think. And you promised us that you'll take us through how you normally use Mystica Boutique for your color grading, for your stitching, and for the finishing.
Yes. Okay. So hello, Eva. Thank you very much for bringing me here. and hire the assistants. Well, I received the camera for 1 week already. I got more lucky than Hugh. So the point, I will share my screen. Okay, it's already shared. Okay, so I received it, and the first thing I noticed is that this camera is huge. It's incredible. My head is big, but you can notice how huge is this camera. So it's huge and heavy. But even though I try to do my best, the thing I love more that is go shooting on the wild. So I pack everything in a 25 kilo backpack, which is quite hard to carry. So I realized that, well, one thing that is clear on this camera is that this camera is not for any situation and is not for any kind of shoot we normally do. For example, we cannot hand this on a drone, or we cannot hand this in a small cable cam, as we did with the Obsidian Pro or whatever. Maybe in the future will be drones powered by, I don't know, nuclear motors, but it's 14 kilos. 14 kilos is quite heavy for that kind of thing. But well, so I will tell you my experience with the camera. Is the experience has been well. Dan already said that the camera is still some things to improve, but overall I quite impressed by the quality of the image, especially as Hugh has told. The quality is really amazing. So I will show you my workflow is now 100% in Mystica Boutique. I decided to move from Mystica VR to Mystica Boutique because Mystica Boutique is a suite with all the things you can use in several software, but is integrated on the same one. So you have edition, color grading, composition, and now stitching. So Mystica VR is integrated in Mystica Boutique. So the workflow in Mystica Boutique is Mystica Boutique has a very cool time space in which you can place all the footage, you can organize, copy, make versions. It's very practical, but this is not the goal of this presentation, and I'm not an expert in Mystica Boutique. So I can show you how that works, the VR thing. So the VR, in this case, you import the videos from the Kandao Obsidian Pro. So this is a set of 8 videos in ProRes. So this is ProRes, not RAW. So you can see each camera in a different way. You have also, as is a great system, you can always show the scope. So once you have the cameras, it's so easy that you have, this is the template which has been created from the metadata of the camera from the SEO guys. So thank you, Roman. So you just drop the template over the videos like a stack, and then that's it. You double click, and oops, you got the stitching over the 6 cameras. All the parameters you can use in Mystica VR are there. It's just a different workflow or interface, so you can see all the parameters of each camera, or you can modify for the optical flow. You can remove optical flow, or set it again. You can zoom in, pan around. So you can see, as Hugh just pointed, the quality of the stitch is quite nice. these distances. I mean, this is not a camera to put inside a car. Well, maybe when Dan will release this super fancy depth map technology into boutique will be possible, but now is more for this kind of scenes. So the stitching is very well, but the difference of this camera for me is the quality of the sensors. So the quality of the color, the dynamic range. So even in this situation in which I shoot in 709 ProRes, so no, this is not a log video, I can go back and then apply a color grade. So I go to the hundreds of effects of boutique, and then I get the color grade. And then when you double click on the color grade, you get access to the color grade interface, and you have the scope here. So even in the scope, you can check in the scope the 10 bits depth is very nice, because the scope, the waveform is is not like a bands. And then the point here is you can recover a lot of information on the shadows. So you see there, for example, in this is a cathedral. So I push the gamma, can push the gamma, take down the blacks a bit. You see in the vetoscope, and you can see there is a lot of information, and without adding too much noise, even almost nothing. You can even push a bit more here. Okay, so you can see the effect when I remove the color grading. You see the difference is quite impressive. This is, for me, this is the most amazing part of the camera, is that you get really good results and really very good image quality out of the camera. So, well, this is my first test I did, but then I will show you the test I did on the mountains, which are also quite interesting. So the second one is this one. I go to this nice national park, and then this is already shooting raw. This is a very tricky situation for a normal camera. So Obsidian Pro, as a normal Obsidian, will get very different results here, or another brand of camera. But with this camera, you can achieve a very good result on this situation. It's very cool. You can see there is a lot of dynamic range, even if normally, well, there is the sun is clipped, but this is normal. But there is a lot of information on shadows and so on. And this is without any color grade. When I go back and apply a color grade, then we can do the same that before. You have this scope, and then I push again the gamma up. And you can see on the shadows that there is not really a big amount of noise or nothing. The quality is very good, even if I push it really too hard, that is too much in this case. I will not push too much. I'll just keep it like that. You can even see the highlights. So the controls are very cool in boutique, because it's a very good grade system. I can push the saturation a bit. For example, I can use this new tool they have lately to change the colors of different colors. So, for example, I can take the green and decide that is I want to change the station. So I go to the fall. So I go, and then we are in fall, in October. See, that is very cool. And then we return to the spring. That's pretty cool, and it's very, very well done in Mystica Boutique. Okay, and the other thing important here is, for example, if I'm grading, but then I maybe I realize there is something wrong on my stitch, so I can just, even if I'm grading, I have the grade applied, I can come back to my stitch, to Mystica. Yeah, I have a moment. Do that, so you can see that. Yeah. So you can see here on the stitch, due to this huge parallels, there is some stitch problem on this person, so me. So we can add an edge point. In this case, we don't need to be a stereo because we are not in stereo now. And you see, we add the edge point, but we are doing it over the color grade. So at any moment you can remove the color grade, check again. So any parameter can be modified on the fly without any rendering. That is the big advantage of Boutique. You work with the stitch. You can even do a edition, like copy, putting this close to this one, and then make a cut, and everything without rendering. So and anytime you can fix a small stitching error, and then finish the project. And the last scene I want to show you is another scene on the mountains. Yes. Sorry, I don't have a big computer like Hugh, but a small MacBook Pro, so it's not so fast. Okay. So this is again a stitch in RAW. So it's other good example of this thing, as I tell you. We have the stitch in a very complex situation with the sun in front of us, very dark areas here in the trees, or down in the waterfall. There is that very dark areas. So even if I come back and well, we can. One thing that is very cool in Boutique is you can just copy the grade from one. I could copy the grade from one clip to the other clip. So if the grade before I happy, I just drag it here, up, and I have already a grade. This is cool, but I can remove this. I can come here and of course adapt to this suit. I can take more gamma. And you see here, even here in this area, which is really dark, we got information, and without adding a terrible noise. Same thing here on the trees. So for me, this is the main point of this of using this camera by now. I have a bit more time than Hugh, but not too much. So yeah, this is quite amazing. I think when of course if this dev technology will be implemented for the stereo stitch, it will be amazing for any kind of scene with closer people. By now is very good for this kind of suits and many others, but it must be clear that it's not for inside a car or inside or in a crowded restaurant. But yeah, it's all. I don't know.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that you chose well your sceneries to shot with this camera because it looks really, really nice. So, well, thank you very much, Ignacio. I think we now reached the Q&A time. We already received some questions through our email yesterday. So we have one from Alexandra that is also at the session at the moment, and she actually reached out to us saying that she would like to know a little bit more about choosing the camera and exporting to stereo 180. So I don't know who wants to take over this one, who is 180
Yeah, I can.
10. Go ahead.
Again,
Okay.
I'm self-proclaimed 180 expert. So in Mystica, if I share my screen again, let me see really quick. In Mystica, after you have a perfect stitch, it's so easy. So if you see that, I can literally show you 180 right now side by side, and you see that that's actually not a right. But after you have a perfect stereo stitch, like here is a perfect stereo stitch with the edge point, stereo edge point. In Mystica, you literally just like render. And you should use ProRes and go and use ProRes. But right here, the stereo, you can put left and right VR 180. That literally render out a standard Google VR, YouTube VR, or Facebook Oculus format, VR 180 format. From here, it just have the format, but you can also, if you just want to go directly render, you can render as MP4. You can actually inject spatial matter right here. You can even skip the entire VR creator tool from Google and go straight from here to your end platform. So I want people to think like VR 180 is not a thing of its own. VR 180 is a bigger part of the ecosystem of the entire VR pipeline. So if you can shoot stereoscopic VR 180 and you achieve a perfect stitch on your scene, you can literally have like multiple camera VR 180. That's it can be 180, but I can like go ahead and bake in my camera, and then I yard this on a different location. Let's say that I yard it on different location. Now I'm staring at my garage right here, super slow. And then you get another VR 180 angle right here is VR 180. So just make sure that when you stitch any 360 camera, make sure you're perfect stitch, and then the render part is where you decide if you want to go VR 180 or 360. So that is usually my workflow. I actually shot a lot of VR 180 video. Some of them you probably see already on internet with 360 camera. It doesn't matter, like whatever camera you have, just use it.
That's great. Thank you very much, Hugh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the second question we got from Joel is he would like to get a little bit more of the sample footage from Obsidian Pro. He would like to know if there is any way to download it, to see it in a normal daylight, in shot outside. If you have any comment on that.
Okay, let me take that one. We're now at the moment sharing all the footage we release on a Google Drive. Maybe I should try and let them post it on Facebook. I think we have already posted the link on the Facebook, but let me try.
I think I have the link. I can post it in the chat if you let me.
Please.
Okay.
And I think we will update more footage later.
Mm-hmm.
So and actually, the initial hope is that when Hugh and Ignacio got the camera, they can help us to post more footage. But things, unexpected things happen. For example, Hugh only get the camera in only 10 hours, and Ignacio also have encountered quite some firmware problem. And during this time, we actually can try very hard to get the firmware into better shape. So I hope that in the near future, we can steadily release more footage. And if you have any things that you really want to check, then you can interact with us on Facebook, and I think Jasmine and our other colleague will help. And I think the only concern at the moment is that if you want to see a stereo stitch at the moment, it is not easy. It is quite time consuming. But we can share with you the 8 individual lenses. And also maybe, I think it is quite easy to get a perfect stitch with Mystica in mono at the moment. But in stereo, I think you still need to wait for us and Roman to work together and to make things easier.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so we have another question from Matthew. So he says that he noticed a lot of artifacts in the ground between the subjects in both samples from Hugh and Ignacio. Is there a good solve for this in Mystica, or is this something that only depth-based stitching can solve?
Well, I try to answer. Well, I think it's we have really done a very quick stitch of this because we got the camera a few days. But yes, it will be an issue of tweaking the parameters in Mystica or adding edge points or whatever, but it can be fixed, of course.
Perfect.
Especially in mono, as Dan just said.
Exactly.
The Mystica works great for mono stitching now, and maybe you could show the experimental feature of tweaking the parallax. But...
you think?
Yes, could you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing very interesting, I want to share my screen.
So yeah, I completely forgot to mention that we also have SGO team on board. I was running too fast, so obviously here is Roman, Adrian, and Alba with us as well. So if you have any questions directly for SGO team, we'll be more than happy to answer. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so in this stitch we see the last one I showed you. You can see if we switch we switch to 3D, and then we see the distance on me is very huge. It's more than the normal. This is because of this difference in the cameras. So there is in Boutique, there is a new feature, which is a new stereo 3D component. So we just add the stereo 3D, and there is a
an optical flow.
Optical flow. So there is a mode in optical flow, which is named Align XA, and this mode allows us all.
All.
Sorry.
0 to 5. Set it numerically better, please.
5. Sorry. Oops. Okay. So as you can see now, the distance on me, the stereo on me is much better.
Yes, the parallax in the original footage is as large as the real parallax between lenses, which is a bit too much. Yeah. So we can try to use optical flow to reduce that parallax to half. And it works just as well as the optical flow is. So it works depending on the scene. If it is simple, it works well, but in tricky situations, there will be artifacts.
Yeah. So that's it. As you can see, yes, it's tricky to get out with the stereo because of the size.
Yeah, but in this case, we actually got quite good stereo. Yeah. Possibly in movement, we could see some artifacts because the optical flow is temperamental.
Yeah.
Roman is always ready with his stereo 3D glasses.
Ah, yes, sorry. Yes, you can actually see this in 3D with the right glasses. They're not too cool, but they can save the day. Take them
I think they're pretty cool, Roman. So
yes.
I will try to also to export some clip of this one, so you can see that on real.
Not high tech, but they work even over Zoom, as you can see.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, Matthew says that he's also wearing his 3D glasses. Well, Matthew, we don't believe you unless you send us a selfie in the chat. Okay, so we also have another question from Rodrigo. So he says that he directed a feature film using V1 Pro. He wonders if Obsidian Pro could be used as the main camera for feature film or just more for landscape scenes. He wants to know what would be the minimum ideal performance distance for actors, etc., etc. So Dan, I think this one is yours.
Let me take this one. I think the V1 Pro is also quite a large rig, but because it just uses Micro Four Thirds, so it is a bit smaller than us. But I think the rig is very large, so the V1 Pro will have also large ProRes issue as well, but maybe not as large as ours. I think the ideal performance distance for actors, this really depends on how good we can get the depth rendering too. I think for pure human figure, our goal is to get into the range of 1 to 2 meters for the minimum distance. Because we actually, if you notice, we actually have a near focus adjusting settings that let you kind of adjust the depth of field to something like 0.7 to 5 meters away, something like that. And through our experiment, we actually think that we can get the stitching to something like 1 meter to or 1.5 meter, but at the moment it is kind of quite computational intensive. So it kind of you need to wait for quite a while. So we are kind of accelerating the algorithm. Maybe I can share, maybe return to the footage I shared moments before. So actually you can see my screen, right? So
yeah.
This one minimizing. So let me switch it. This is the stitch results using depths. So this is the left eye, right eye, left eye, right eye, actually switching the left and right. And for example, you can see the thing here, the rail here. It's actually this is very challenging things for the depth rendering because there is little features and a lot of similar patterns. But you can see, for example, here, things something like 1 meter away is kind of okay. We can get the rendering quite correct. And I think once we kind of export this kind of internal depth information back into Mystica, and then maybe we're still discussing with Roman how to kind of let people fix the things that we get it wrong. So maybe manually editing the depths or something like that. We are still kind of working on that. But since we have a huge amount of overlap, I think this is kind of achievable. So we actually have quite some confidence. So hopefully we want to kind of make it usable in something like 2 or 3 months time frame. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
I can also like just talk about it because I actually try to use this camera to shoot film. I'm just quickly share my screen and it's actually the first one I just share. And that is actually a film I'm working on with actual talents. So as you see the cameras right here, I kind of paint it out. That's literally like 3 meters away. It's fine. As you see, like it's just like any VR camera, it's all about blocking. You don't want your talent walk into a stitch line, but when you walk into a stitch line, yes, that stitch line right here, you will see artifacts basically causing stitch line right here. but still that is pretty close to the camera. So it's just like any camera. You just need to have a good blocking and understand your challenge point, and just make sure that people don't walk into it.
Perfect.
I'll stop sharing.
Sounds good. Okay, so I think we covered all the questions so far. If you have any additional questions for us or for our amazing panelists, we'll make sure to send it to them and try to get you your answers. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Big thanks to our amazing speakers and, of course, our partners from Kandao. Just before we end the session, a quick reminder for our anniversary giveaway. I'm not sure if you saw it already on our social media. You can see it on our Facebook and on our Instagram accounts. Alba will paste you the link, I think. So basically, you just have to like, share, comment for pretty amazing prizes. You can see that also Kandao is giving away 3 cameras, not the Obsidian Pro, but also a very nice cameras. So also, if you haven't tried Mystica VR or Boutique yet, you can download your free trials and give it a go. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out through social media or by email to marketing@sgo.s. So I guess this is it for today, guys. Many thanks again, and take care.